Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rockin' Beards podcast, back at its normal scheduled time. My name is HSR.
What up? It's Syd.
And before we get into today's episode, why don't we discuss our housekeeping fun stuff, like our favorite comment from our midweek episode. Mr. Lindell Williams commented on our Lady Peace episode. You know what? We can always count on Lindell to be there if no one else comments or whatever.
Thank you, Lindell.
You are the fucking man.
We appreciate it.
And I like this comment. He says, it's like a grilled cheese sandwich that you eat every now and then is, I believe, what your take was on this. Ha ha ha. That's a really good way to put it. But anyway, when it comes down to the sound, it's hard to please musically, but haven't said that there's still more of a lyrical route that was lost in musically because it does have that Imagine Dragons kind of pop sound. Still, there could have been more done, at least from a non-predictable standpoint.
I 100% agree, and that was my main complaint with the music on the album.
And this album is okay, but not necessarily for the best mind-expanding experience. The scores and insight are right to me, and don't worry about the mic stands in front. That's this in front of our faces blocking our mouths. I'm just here for the review. Ha ha ha. Mic stands. I don't really get that last part.
No mic stands matter in reviews, but
thank you,
if you want an Our Lady Peace album that's going to open your mind and make you see different perspectives, go check out Spiritual Machines.
Or just pick one from the 90s at random, probably.
Spirit.
Yeah, that's a good one. I prefer some of the other
but
ones.
Like for that specific reason, Spiritual Machines, you know?
Yeah, that's the one with In Repair, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful song.
Concept album.
All right, let's move on, though, to the next part. So we do have a request list. That means that if you care about seeing us cover a particular album, and for the older classic rock stuff, we will get to it at some point. Everything happens in due time. We're just preparing and shit.
No Stairway to Heaven.
But yeah, so you can check out the request list in the description, and just so that you know that we do read all your comments, because we do have the grind to 1,000 subscribers contest happening. Basically, if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment describing the review the album, something to encourage a conversation, you enter our raffle. First prize is $100 of Amazon money, plus you request a review. Second prize is $50 plus a review, and third prize is $25 plus a review. So basically you pick what you want us to cover and pick who from the channel will cover it. And then once we break 1,000, we'll go through the comments, go on YouTube Live, do a little draw using a random number generator and those comment lists, and boom, I'll contact people and give out the money.
And seriously, we're almost there.
And
missing like 100.
That's 170 or whatever.
My bad.
Basically, one more note before we move on. I know it's obnoxious when I say basically like that. For every other video in the past that you do like and comment on, you get extra points for the raffle or extra entries. So one per video.
Extra
Dope.
points.
Let's talk about this week's this week's album for episode 51. Why don't you introduce it, Sydney?
Today we are reviewing the latest release from the party master himself, Mr. Andrew W.K, titled You're Not Alone.
Yeah. You listen to Andrew W.K much in your life?
I've heard a couple of Andrew W.K songs, but nope, never really. You?
Nope. I remember there was that one music video on Much Music where I think he has a bloody face. I might be wrong about that. I remember that one music video, and that it sounded like more rock, and I was at the time a little bit more interested in rap than I was, so I kind of blew it off a little bit. And then nothing, forgot he existed. I mean, he popped up every now and again, and I've always heard him esteemed as a talented act. I don't actually know if it's him or a band. I completely forgot to Google that beforehand. I know he's like the main guy, and that the W.K is his last name's initials, and that he was involved in a bunch of bands and proceeded to end up doing his first solo project with Andrew W.K, etc.
I think he's one of these guys that like just looks like he's never aging, like he's perpetually 25.
Yeah, I quoted this little thing from an interview because I was really curious about his reputation. It seems that when he came out, he was really polarizing. Like, a lot of people weren't sure how to feel about him. So this display typifies WK's never stop partying mystique, which continues to drive in crowds more than a decade after the release of I Get Wet. The 2001 release divided critics who couldn't seem to agree on whether tracks like Party Hard and She Is Beautiful were incredibly good or just plain awful. And apparently it was Pitchfork actually re-reviewed the record a decade later as a sort of mea culpa. I've never heard that term.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Raising its score from 0.6 to 8.6 out of 10. So off camera, I gave the wrong magazine to Sydney, but still, that's incredible to see how at the time it was at a 0.6, and when Pitchfork re-reviewed it 10 years later, they raised it by literally 80%. And that's an incredible, I think that's an incredible thing to have happen to your legacy, right? I think if you had to pick, right, coming out really strong at the gate and being perceived like a perfect artist, and then 20 years later or whatever, falling apart and having like no career, or people like looking at you and being like, fuck this guy, is totally worse than what seems to be happening now. Like, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the mid-2000s, Mr. W.K started going around and doing like these speeches and these different types of like acts and entertainment things all around like promoting goodness and helping people. Like, he had this whole like show thing where he'd start off by himself on like the stage. He'd start like playing like piano or whatever, and by like the end of the song, like the whole stage would be like covered with people from the crowds. They'd be on the piano singing and shit. Like, he creates experiences, and I think that when we get into the album, you're gonna see his philosophy is pretty
like
inspiring.
It's simple, but it's really, really engaging and inspiring. Yeah.
So yeah, the more I looked into him, the more I thought he was a really wonderful dude, and I almost feel a little bit sad that I didn't actually listen to any of his work before today or yesterday when I put the album on for the first time. So I've listened to this now a few times, and I guess we can get into that shortly. I don't know if you have more notes about him in general.
Nope. Let's talk about it.
But the cover is beautiful.
The cover is great. Just
Like,
kind of him standing in like a midsummer's like suburban backyard.
The colors are wonderful. The lighting and shading are gorgeous. You almost want to print that thing off and stick it on your wall like a beautiful piece of art that just has, you know, Andew W.K just kind of hanging out in your room, but it's actually like nice. And then let's talk about the title for a quick minute. You're Not Alone. What inspiring shit, you know, like
it's simple, but it's effective. And there's a theme that kind of runs throughout this album, and it's kind of illustrated in the cover too. Like, no matter how depressed you are, no matter like what deep rabbit hole you're going down, there's kind of like Andrew W.K's voice in the back of your head, like, you're not alone, there's someone with you, like I'm with you, or whatever. Like, this disembodied voice is with you, and he's in a backyard, right? He's surrounded by houses, and this could be any backyard anywhere, like in the first world. So I mean, he's just kind of there with you. He's like the angel on your shoulder, the little Andrew W.K angel on your shoulder.
Which is probably not what anyone ever expected anybody would ever say ever back in the day, but here we are discussing the great philosophy of Andrew W. Anyway.
He's really, I think, the only party philosopher on the planet. Like, I think that's the role he fills.
But like, he really okay, let's get into it. We can discuss this more as we go on, because you know what the first track is?
The Power of Partying.
Party, and then it just like builds up from there, you know, like,
yeah, just 10 on 10 would listen again. Super down.
That's a boring way to describe this. I mean, this is like, there's a word for the sound that goes into this. Back in 2008 or so, epic became like a huge thing, you know, an epic sound, like the epic soundtrack for Traffic or whatever. And when you put this on, the first word that pops into your mind is, this shit is gonna be fucking epic, right?
Yeah, because it's this build, and the snare is coming like a march, and there's the strings, and he's just kind of going party, 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 but like it's distorted, and it's
but like, his volume on Party never changes. But what happens is so much more gets added, so much more magnificent sounds comes in, and layer upon layer as it kind of builds up for the next minute and 36 seconds, and you're just almost like, not only are you ready for this album, but you're fucking excited for whatever the next track is gonna be. You can't even, honestly, I didn't know what to expect, but this was delightful to listen to.
And I love how just like his reputation precedes him, right? The first words are just party, party, party. Like, it's perfect. This is the perfect intro to an Andrew W.K album.
That's fair. I had to point out, though, that it reminded me of another act's introductions on a couple other albums, and folk may find this a little strange, but have you listened recently to the introduction track on Good Charlotte's The Chronicles of Life and Death? It is similarly epic, believe it or not, and I really kind of like a 90-minute, 2-minute little, almost, it has Latin playing in that one, but build up like this. Same thing on Chronicles of Life and or Lifestyles of the whatever that they have there. That one, the one that came before that one.
I'm not gonna pretend to know Good Charlotte's back
I'm a big fan of them, but like they have really good intros too, so it made me think of that, and I thought that was fun. I honestly gave this a 5 on 5.
Yep, me too.
One of the best introduction tracks I've ever heard, serving the role of being that first thing. Honestly, as long as nothing crappy came on after this song, it can serve as the introduction to any good song, you know?
And that's just to say music is worth living for.
Alright, so what'd you think of this one?
I mean, what I love about this and what I love about this entire record is that, like, it's so simple, but it's so majestic and just so epic and so inspiring and energetic. Like, first off, I love the title. The title is just straight, no bullshit. Music is worth living for. No metaphors. You don't need to be hiding that shit in layers upon layers upon layers of comparisons and similes and what have you. It's just music is worth living for. Here's a great song. 5 on 5.
But it's okay. It's a little more than that, like lyrically. It's almost like addressing the fact that nobody can believe that Andrew W.K is still here doing this thing that they've been doing. And if you really think about it, this is all they've kind of stood for. And at the end of the day, like, you got lines like, yeah, I bet you never thought you'd live to see the day where we could play with joy and laughter. And I bet you never thought we'd make it all the way and we could stay forever after. And my first thought was, this sounds like everything Our Lady Peace wishes it was saying on that last project, right? So if you did happen to listen to that, you'll see that it was kind of the opposite of what. But Andrew here is kind of like, you know what? Fuck you all. We're still here. We're still doing it. You didn't think we could, but not in like a negative way.
Because what I get from this is, like, he's taking himself out of himself, and this is kind of like an everyman perspective on, I'm still here. Like, if you are alive, then you are still here, and you made it, and fuck the haters. Like, that's what I got from this.
I think there's a bit of a little bit of a shots fired at all the haters in a personal way.
But I'm saying it's not him firing shots at his haters. It's you're right. Take your life and fuck your haters, because you're still here, you're still alive, you didn't give up, and this is how far you've made it, and no matter what you've done, you've made it.
And I think that even part of the message, though, is that they're here because it's bigger than them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like just the follow-up to my thoughts. So it is a little bit of a fuck you to the haters, but it's mostly like, look, music is what we're about. We provide this high-quality product, so to speak, this amazing joie de vivre in our music. I mean, literally, he says, music is worth living for. Music makes life worth living for. Music is worth living for, showing that they have thrown themselves almost entirely into this, and they're just trying to share that with you. And if you think about it, who doesn't? There are people, but most people who come and listen to music are doing it for finding a reason almost to live at some point in their life. Music
to feel. You want to feel, right? You look at art or you experience art to feel something. That is the entire goal of art, to make you feel.
I think it's a little bit of owning the reputation that they have and saying that in spite of that, what they're doing is giving you just that, something to live for through their music, because they themselves found what is worth living for through their music, which is kind of what this album encompasses, just in this really well-constructed way, actually. I was really impressed by it, but you're right, it's simple. There is no convoluted poetry here. There is no hidden messages or meanings. It is broken down into the basest English that he can possibly muster, because it's not about that. It's when you're sitting there at the show or bopping around your room, all you're shouting out is music is worth living for.
And like, he's got this really, really powerful voice. I feel like he's had some classical training. It probably went into some opera training at some point, because he's got that like and like instrumentally the guitars are just, it's the perfect amount of gain on the now. Like, you love the riffs and you want to headbang, and the drums are just giving you this rhythm to just go crazy to. It's just a great a great song, and it's pretty much, I don't have a lot to say about the rest of this album because it's all very similar, but I loved it all.
But yeah, this one's a 5 for me.
It's a 5, so
it's truly like there wasn't a lot of singles, I guess. I don't know if he's really that kind of guy, but at this point, I was convinced I wanted to go see him live in concert, and it took 2 songs off of my first ever record, and I was on
a song and an intro.
That's true, but that intro is worthy of being called a song.
Yeah.
Either way, Ever After is next. I'm still excited. Ever Again, fuck off, Holden. Ever After is a good movie, though. You should check this. So we like to listen to a little like sample of the song off camera because, you know, it gives a little refresher, and then we come in and we don't play the song because it's illegal. So we like to not, like, we play that clip, which is fair use, but can't play the whole song. But I had a little problem right now. I did not want to hit pause and come back to recording because this track was so enthralling. Anyway, please go on, Sydney.
It's so good. It's just so good. I mean, again, like, I don't have more to say that much. It's like the music is super punchy. The chorus is fucking epic. They say that nobody changes, but I'm living proof that they do. And again, this is like, it's not, you get the sense that it's not just Andrew W.K. talking about himself, but it's like when you get that sense that, like, yes, I can change. I broke through. I broke out of the monotony of my life, and like I realized what was holding me back, and I punched through that fucking wall with riffs and metal and awesomeness. And it's just like, it's super cheesy. Like, it's all so cheesy, but it's the kind of cheese that just makes you want to get up and dance and smile. And even if you're in a shitty mood after this, you're going to want to get up and dance and smile. And that's 2 songs in. So I gave this one, this is a 5 on 5 for me.
I don't know if I would qualify this one as cheesy per se. I think that the guy is spitting simple truths, right?
But I mean, the music is super cheesy.
Okay,
like, I love it. I love it. Right.
On a musical front, it's grandiose. It's elaborate. It's honestly, it would be pretentious if he was singing about anything else. But because of what he's choosing to sing about, it actually turns into a great experience. Like he, as you brought up on the chorus, he's like, they say nobody changes, but I'm living proof they do. That's when I started Googling. I had to know. And because I found the answer, and you can find answers too. I did find an answer. People didn't like him because he partied a lot, and they thought he would grow out of it, and he still parties a lot. So I guess he didn't.
But in a philosophical sense, and we'll get into that later.
Well, I think he literally still parties. I just think that partying isn't necessarily what you think partying is.
Exactly.
But they make me think I was crazy and the pain was here to stay. Now that I found my answer, I'm never ever gonna lose my way. Now, I don't care who you are, but at some point in life, you're gonna come across a moment where you might feel like stuck in a rut and things aren't great or stuff. And then if you put on some lyrics like that, how can you not feel better? It's like when you hear about people overcoming obstacles in their life and achieving the depraved and the debaucherous. It's like if Marilyn Manson wrote a redemption record and it was honest, it would be like the most insane thing. It would probably be like a #1 fucking, like, I don't know, greatest shit ever. It's kind of like that. Like, redemption stories always work well because they let you know that no matter how broken you are, you can achieve. And Andrew's just so humble with it. Every line is humbly spoken. Like, he just wants you to have a better day, and that's his only mission on your songs.
There's no ego here.
And then there's times, like, I'll admit there were times I was terrified. I honestly thought I wouldn't survive, but I learned a lot from my trip to the dark side, and from here on, I'll keep my light alive. So he's, like, letting you know that he recognizes that that there is a dark side. He knows what it's like to be there, but he's beaten the demons back, and he can handle it. Because I think it's important to acknowledge, too, that there is potentially problems and stuff if you're going to approach this kind of subject matter, because so often it's just like happy-go-lucky, everything's okay, but there's no flaws or problems. Andrew's like, happy-go-lucky, everything's okay because I defeated demons and slayed dragons and shit.
Yeah, fuck you, Pharrell.
I don't know. I really dig this track. I give it a 4.5 on 5. I liked it a little bit less than the last one musically. Sometimes the songs are really a little similar and blend a little bit, but it's not like problematic. It's just then you have your preference of which one is better than the last one, you know? But I'm still digging it. I'm still feeling this album. I plus the first 3 songs on Spotify because it's fucking amazing.
I mean, I don't know anything.
That's true. All right, Syd.
I don't have a lot to say.
It's just like the awesome continues. Like, it's awesome part 4. That's what it is. Like, the guitars are super punchy. At this point, I'm starting to realize that there's a lot of Bruce Springsteen influence in this music, in the way that it's composed. Like the way that the keys are super happy and jovial, and they kind of follow, like they follow along with the guitar, and they're melded in perfectly with that level of gain that the guitar has going, just like wall of sound with the power chords, and then the drums are just kind of bada 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 bada. Like it's that kind of driving positive force that made Springsteen so popular. I like it better here. That's personal taste. You do with that what you will. But yeah, man, this is just like, it is the perfect party rock anthem. Like, I'm sorry, LMFAO, I dig you, but Andy does it better. This is another 5 on 5 for me.
I like this track because if you think about the process of breaking down, recovering, and starting over, it kind of starts off with admitting how little you know. And I think that throughout the next few songs on this album and as it progresses, you get a little bit of a how-to into how you get to feel awesome like Andy. So he kind of creates the context in the first couple of songs. Music's worth living for, I can change, I can be better. And now we're going to explain to you how to do it. Which is like, wait, I started realizing this album might just be a self-help book in music form.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's amazing because it's probably a really lucrative idea if people were to actually exploit that. There's not a lot of lyrics, really. But what I have to give him props for, if you think about Rain on Our Lady Peace, sorry, we did this like a few days ago, so it's very fresh on my mind. He had a lot of repetition, and it was just repetition. But Andy managed to flip shit up a little bit. And I do like how in the little parts where he doesn't know stuff, he just kind of changes stuff. Like, I don't know the law or how to disobey, how to keep it cool, or how to hip hooray. And that's it. That's the verses. They're all that long. And then it's, I don't know, a bunch of shit. But he managed to change it. Like, I don't know the truth. I don't know the way. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say. So instead of trying to be completely repetitive, he managed to just take these little short verses to express isolated thoughts about not knowing stuff and almost admitting that he doesn't know. And then like the chorus and whatever is this thriving anthem of just like ignorance, but in the most interestingly positive way anyone could ever spin that. Like, it's okay to not know things. Like, I don't know anything. That's fine. Be proud of that. Be like honest with it. So I love the fact that in light of how I just said stuff was blending, Andy almost like heard me, and he if he doesn't like being called Andy, I'm sorry. I just can't help it. I was thinking of The Office every time. And it kind of like flips into this whole different style a little bit. Like, he delivers the verses differently. The whole feel of the track is still grandiose, still elaborate, still belongs on this project, but different enough so that you're not actually getting bored at any point. And that is really like, if you're going to come in with a record that's 50 plus minutes, you got to find a way to keep it diverse. And track 4, I'm still hooked. I'm still wanting to go on. And so
like, this is the musical embodiment of Keep It Simple, Stupid.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, 4.5 on 5 if I didn't say that. And I guess we can talk about the feeling of being alive.
Can we, though?
That intense feeling inside is the feeling of existing, of being.
Oh, remember that self-help stuff?
I mean, but he literally describes what being alive is like in the simplest, most shortened,
all right, stuff like, if you ever feel like something is very, very wrong with life, wrong with yourself, I understand. I have that feeling too. But in actuality, that feeling isn't wrong. That feeling is just being human. That intense feeling inside is the feeling of existing, of being alive, of being a person. And then he kind of parlates that into what partying is a little bit to him. How,
like, it's super efficient, but at the same time, it's super philosophical. Like, you feel like many years from now, professors will be studying this stuff in university classes. These are the blurbs that make up collections of philosophy. Like, this is it.
And I find it really interesting because he takes the opportunity to describe partying a little bit, you know, and not as much here. He goes into it further, I think, in the next few tracks. That's literally what they are. But it serves as a segue, saying that, you know, life isn't necessarily this happy time, but partying is a way to like make it all okay a little bit, you know. I give it a 4.5. As far as little skits and interlude things go, if you're gonna drop wisdom and knowledge like that, maybe I'm not going to listen to it every time, but I'm also never gonna like lose out on hearing those words, so I'm okay with what he did here. It really shows the compassion behind what his intent is on the project and really drives home this idea that I'm not alone, which is cool.
I gave it a 5. I loved it.
All right, I guess the next one is Party Mindset, so we can learn a little bit more.
Party mindset all year round.
All right.
So, I mean, this song is just about how you can just always be partying. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when, but you can always have that party mindset, that philosophical party outlook on life. So it's cool. And musically, I mean, it's the kind of thing where, like, you know that this is silly, like, you know it deep in the back of your mind that this is just a really silly concept, but you believe it and you love it anyway. And like it's kind of like all of the best parts of like really silly 80s glam rock mixed with like modern electro rock, and that's kind of the product that you get, and it's great. I like this one just a little less than some of the others. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. But I really like there's a section at the end where he changes things up a little bit, and there's kind of a mini guitar solo going. There's these like, I feel like these drum fills that are going to be kind of overlooked that I felt like I needed to point out, because the drumming on this record really is top notch.
So yeah, I didn't like this one as much either, but it's mostly because it's slower. It's a little less fun. It's a little more like serious, I guess. And you're right, it does have that silliness to it because of what he's saying, but he's also not fucking playing. He is dead serious.
Because this is his outlook on life. Like, this is how he sees things.
So he's like, I realized not long ago that all of life is one last waltz. I've had enough of feeling low. I realized everything I knew was false, so I killed the place inside that told me feeling good was a crime. So glad that place has finally died. Now here's to feeling good all the time.
Like, it's so positive, but it's so metal at the same time.
But like, if you really think about what he's saying there, he's like, society, life, rules, etc. These things told me that the way I was living was wrong, and that I'm bad for sinning, per se, is a good way to look at it if you have religion in your life. And he's like, I killed that part, that guilt, that things that made me feel bad for being who I am, and now I'm G about it. Or I really like the part where he's like, the best way to win this game is simply not to play along and disobey without no shame. Remember, everything you know is wrong. And he's like, he's really just kind of like expressing a couple of things there. Like he's like, break the rules, follow what you got to do. But it's not like this random punk of fucking authority type shit. It's, don't listen to the brainwashing nonsense that keeps you from having self-esteem and pride in yourself. Like, the one thing about partying he drives home on this song is that it's not this social thing. Partying is a way of yourself. Everywhere you go, you are the party if you're doing it right. And other people will party there and party with you and things like that. In an ideal world, a party is a bunch of individuals partying collectively. And it's not supposed to be this like escapist mess of everybody escaping together and calling it a party. And I think that he really drives home this differentiation of, don't let these people tell you what partying is. This is what it is. And for that, it's truly commendable how Andrew has handled this subject matter in such a great way. But the song's a little less interesting to me musically, so I give it a 4.
You know, when you say a word like way too many times and it just loses all meaning.
Right.
Party. Just party.
Like
party.
like
party.
the party never dies.
Like the party never dies. So this is kind of like part 2 of the party song saga, and I mean, I like this one more than the last one. It's this, spoiler alert, another perfect grade for me. It's just this like big, heavy as fuck, but super positive and super emotional musical journey. I'm not sure if lyrically he's trying to like make a Jesus allegory out of himself, but if he is, I ain't even mad about it, because he just does it in such a positive way that's like, anyone can be this figure of falling and then coming back triumphant, and anyone can be this symbol of hope and forgiveness and light. And I just like, I love it. What else did I have to say about this song? Let me pull up my notes here real quick. Yes. guitars, the drums, and the synth. Super quick pace on this one little riff that's super cool. And it's still got this like regular tempo feel, which is always nice when you got the playing with rhythms like this song does in a way that a lot of people may overlook. And also, I wanted to say that I'm getting the sense that there may even be a little bit of shoegaze influence on this record, which is cool, because not enough bands give props to that style, but when they do, it always goes down well. Props to the shoegaze, 5 on 5.
All right. I like this one less than the last one. It felt like a slightly more over-the-top song, and this one kind of felt a little more on the pretentious side. And I wasn't sure if it was that the partying was the child or he was the child. So I got a little confused and I got caught up on semantics. And I know I'm not supposed to do that on these songs. I know I'm supposed to just feel the love of everything, but
Got caught up.
It just felt a little too silly. I do like the overall progression of overcoming conflict and everything feels good. And like, you're right. The message it fits the album properly, but let's say the simplicity of the other tracks was less so to me on this. Like, it felt a little bit too much like it was relying on symbolism to get the point across, and a little bit trying harder, and it took away a little bit from the overall experience for me.
Okay.
Be that as it may, it's possibly the lowest song on the album for me, and that's not a bad thing really, because it's still a fun song. Like, if it was the only one I'd ever heard off of this project, I'd probably be thinking a little bit different, but I think I liked everything else I heard more than this, so I gave it a 3.5 on 5.
Whoa,
but
some low grade shit.
Because to me, it's like I could do without this one track, in my opinion. It's a bit of a lengthy record, and for the most part, I feel like every song belongs to be there. This is the only one I'm iffy on, and I get what he's doing. It's almost like he's touching on multiple little styles that he's trying to put through, and this is that more slow, super ballady giant sound, and I just don't know that this one was as nice to me. Anyway, that's fine.
Well, I guess I give up on you.
That's okay.
So I'm not sure if the intro was supposed to evoke feelings of like a male choir or just like drunk buddies singing in a bar on a Friday night. It could go either way. It's cool. I liked it. I wasn't sure what the feeling was supposed to be, but otherwise, I like the song. It fits in with the like really, really uplifting and powerful just feel of the rest of the record. There's a really unique sound running through this record. Andrew W.K definitely has just a style all his own. Like, he's really recognizable. And I feel like this is the kind of song where, like, even if Andrew W.K and his posse don't know me personally, they're not giving up on me. Like, they want me to succeed, and I felt happy about that. Like, that put a smile on my face. I was like, someone out there is thinking about me. So I like this song just a little less than some of the rest of them, but it's still super awesome. I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Fair enough. I dug this track a lot more than the last couple, in the sense that I feel like we're back on track. Like, the last couple of songs almost want to, like, it felt a little bit like justification of his way of life, whereas this is back to, like, the point of things, where he's like, you know what, through all this I found that by giving and focusing on you, life is better. So he wants to relate to, like, it's we won't give up on you, won't let you down if you need a friend. I mean, that's amazing lyrics. That's just really what you want to hear if you're having a hard day or even a good day. Hell, you could be having the best day right now, and you hear Andrew W.K say that to you, and guess what? Your day, it got a little bit better.
Just a little bit.
And that is the realness about that track. And it's like the music is the ultimate healer, and they're making it for the purpose of healing and you and being there, and they were healed through this, and this is like genuinely the living embodiment of pay it forward in a song that I think we can actually say and see here. It does feel a little choiry, a little more like they were inspired by church music when they made this song, which is cool. But at the end of the day, I gave it a 4.25. These last few songs are what I believe to be my least favorite part of the album. It's like this dry, slower middle ground where it's more about, like, I guess, setting up the story for what happens next, because there is a bit of a story going on here, at least his lesson told out through songs. Anyway, I'm okay with that one. I don't have a lot more to add here. Do you want to talk about how we could keep on going?
Yeah.
Can you remember your fears? Can you?
So I mean, definitely a lot of Springsteen influence going on at this point. Maybe even just like a little Elton John going on there. I felt during the intro, which is cool. Nice shout out, nice throwback. And look, usually motivational songs like this would piss me off and I'd start to get bored, but here I still fucking love it. Like there's nothing I can hate on about this track. It's another 5 on 5.
This one has some like kind of questioning feel to it. Like part of it's like, can you remember when you look in their eyes, the way they felt after they looked at you? Can you remember their lies, the way you felt when you tried it too? Can you remember the sorrow, the way you felt like the world would end? Can you remember tomorrow? Can you learn to be your own best friend? And he's kind of like asking you really relevant questions to help you discover some empathy, to help you become a little more forgiving and understanding of yourself and shit. And it's like, man, does he have like some psychology training going on a little bit? Like
He might have studied that.
Because like this song again follows through on this: keep yourself running, you can do it, I got you. So the last song was like, I got you, and now that I've lifted you up, you gotta motivate yourself, right? So the message has kind of moved on. It's almost like a little bit in the recovery process. You fall down, you recognize what is worth living for, you find a friend, he lifts you up a little bit, or she lifts you up a little bit, and then basically in this track you got to find that intrinsic motivation, because external motivation is just not as good. And I find that really interesting. I really enjoyed how by the end of the song kind of like calms down a bit and then kind of like changes just to like resonate a little bit more the key point of his song. I feel like in general this is like we're getting back into what I'm really loving on this album, and this one is another 4.5 on 5 for me. It's a great song, and totally listen to it again. So I guess the next one is In Your Darkest Moments.
Words. And all of this counts as life. It's all part of.
So we got more speech time. I wrote some of it down. After all these ups and downs aren't there to, after all these ups and downs aren't there to hurt us. They're here to thrill us, to make the roller coaster ride of life even more interesting and spectacular. Deep down inside, we don't really want an easy life. We want an amazing life and the strength to love it with all our heart. And then he ends it with, our ultimate quest is not to destroy the shadows or our demons, but to learn to hold hands with that side of life, to party with our demons. And that's important because it kind of ends the previous chapter of this album and starts to explain some of the next part of what this album is going to cover, while kind of addressing at the same time life has terrible moments, the dark side of the force is real, and you kind of need to understand that without the bad there is no good. None of us want this good, nice, happy life that everyone seems to pretend that they want. Instead, what we want is the challenge that comes with overcoming adversity and becoming a better person as a result of it. And I have to agree with him entirely again in the philosophy he drops here, and it's another 4.5 on 5 because it's hard to give just spoken word like that a full 5 a little bit for me.
I mean, I felt like this is the kind of thing that could bring me to tears, like happy tears. And I want Andrew W.K to just stand in my kitchen all the time and just talk happiness at me, like talk inspiration at me. And
so like in the future when they make miniature people spitting motivational terms at you,
like I would buy the Andrew W.K model. Like that would be it. And I just carry him around. It's like, Andy, I'm having a bad day. And he'd just be like, look, that's what life is. And I just be like, this
it's a
pumped me up and just made my day. Anyway, this is a 5 on 5 for me because I normally I can't do it either. I can't get the spoken words, but these are just so perfect and so succinct and so like efficient. He does it so efficiently that I can't. There's nothing I can fault on this. This is a 5.
All right, and that's why the devil's on your side. That was a weird one.
I'm in the back of your mind. I'm in the front of your.
This one is super fucking cinematic, and I love that. I love the build on this track.
It feels like Disney.
It does. It feels a little like Disney, but like it's really orchestral, and it's got this really like it's got this classical feel to it, and the end section, like the entire last third of the song, is just it's this compositional brilliance. Like it's moving up all these scales, and it's changing keys, and it's just incredible, man.
It's like 2 solid minutes straight.
Yeah, and then it ends on this like beautiful piano vocal soft outro, and again he threw another curveball. We're 11 songs in, and he threw another curveball to keep the album interesting. This is another 5 on 5 for me.
So this one, even thematically, is a little bit interesting. So he's got lines like, "You can try your best to block me out, but I just won't be denied. Whoa, the devil's on your side." And I feel like this song is a little more directly about approaching your dark side, or understanding that what the devil is, how it's branded, the evil within you is painted like in this super negative way. But it's like you almost find like solace when you give into that and recognize it as part of your strength. So like, the slime of life had stained your heart, but I kept you purified. Whoa, the devil's on your side. And that goes on for about 2.5 minutes, and then the next 2 minutes is the only vocals you hear is like this sound as it like does that crazy build up. And
it's choral, right? It's like it's falsetto, yeah. and it's group vocals, so it gives it that really orchestral feel to it.
And like, the thing is, the most amazing part is how it never really gets boring. It's not like sometimes you're kind of like, okay, can you please end? No, this does not give you that. It's more of you're almost kind of sad when it does change into that last little part, and it ends in like the perfect way, because as Syd points out, it is really soft and it's calm, and it goes no matter where you try to go, you can never hide the devil's inside. And the contrast between the subject matter of this song, approaching your darkest parts, and the overall Disney feel of the track all at the same time, is a great contrast. That is, in fact, a good curveball. Plus, where it's the second longest track on the album.
Yeah.
And it's okay, because you don't even really feel anything negative. I gave it another 4.5 on 5. It's truly impressive, truly worth listening to. Great for the album. Definitely, we're moving into the whole rest of this. It really starts to pick up again, and I guess the lull of the middle is over, and that is super exciting. You can say that Andy broke the curse.
So good it tricked me too.
This is another really beautiful one, man. Like it's really long, but it doesn't feel long. It sounds kind of like the softer side of Black Sabbath, covering the more anthemic and arena rock side of Def Leppard, if that makes any sense. Like the vocals are very Aussie, and it's dark, but like melancholy dark, not like evil dark, but it's still got that big pumping backbone to it that all the rest of the songs on this record have. So that's really cool. And then it goes into this other really beautiful orchestral section that sounds like all of the best like dream levels from your favorite PlayStation game. Like something is peaking like crazy over here.
It's fine.
Okay. I actually pictured, like, I don't know if any of you played Pokemon Snap, but there was like the last level where you went to catch Mew. Like, I pictured that, like, okay, all watery and like Dreamland, like kind of like Kirby. I know I said PlayStation and I'm referencing Nintendo all over the fucking place, but you know what I'm saying. 5 on 5.
In Pokemon Black, there's the whole dream world, and anyway. I feel like this song's a little bit of a response to the last song. So the last song's kind of entailing you to indulge the dark side. And then if you really listen to what this song is, it's really got like a very simple scheme on the verses. Look who pulled a scam on you, put a curse on you, put a whatever on you. And it's the same. It just changes that one word. So look who put a scam on you again. Look who pulled a scam on you. A scam so sweet, it scammed me too. And then the chorus is, no, break the curse, break the curse. So it's almost like in the last track, you're supposed to embrace your dark side and understand it. But then in this track, it's saying, but that's really like a scam, a scheme. Like, this is not really what you're supposed to do. That is the devil pulling his trick on you. So instead, what you really should do is break the curse and get out of your cycle of redundant crap. Whatever your version of the curse is, it's there, and you should break it. And he can too. And he was caught, you were caught, we were all caught, and now we need to like get out together. And I think the charm of the way that Andrew handles this subject matter is that he includes himself amongst you as the broken and fallen, but then tries to explain, but you can get out of it. And that, I think, is the real charm to this overall. It's 6 minutes, the longest song on the album, but it really doesn't feel that long.
No.
It's a really great, like, sometimes you see 6 minutes, you're like, oh boy. But no, it ends, and you're like, damn, that was really worth the listen. I truly thought it was beautiful, a great song. Another 4.5 for me.
And like there's a lot of duality as a theme on this record in general, and I think you know he does songs in pairs, and this is a really cool way that he encapsulates that whole feeling. Like the happiness has to come with the sadness, the light has to come with the dark. And again, it's really simple. This is not complicated stuff. Anyone can grasp it, but he's saying like you have to be able to grasp this to have a fulfilling life.
In a sense, you have to be able to grasp this to have total freedom.
We had total freedom.
Like, I don't know if it's just listening to this whole record all the way through that's just pumping me up so much and making me love life so much, that's giving me such a positive feel and view on this record. But I feel like on any other record, a song like this I would have given a lower mark to. Like, it's really vague, and it's really not vague, but it's really general, and it's really just like, it's one of those really cheesy, really inspirational songs about being free and just whatever, letting everything go. But I still love it, and I still can't fault this. Like, the music is great, super pumping, just like, really, you want to pump your fist, you want to hear this live, you want to sing along to it, you want to scream to it, and you just want to live and love life, and I'm giving this another 5 on 5.
Yeah, it definitely has that anthemic feel to it. This song has this overall sense of freedom. Like, the music kind of really encapsulates that. It's got lines like, we didn't care at all about what other people thought, or if we could pass the test, or if we were cool or not. And there's this sense of him thinking back on when he was young, and I guess what's conveyed in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck in books like that. There's this sense of doing what you got to do regardless of if you win or lose, going in and just having the freedom to take risks and to fuck up and all that other stuff. I love the chorusy part, the total freedom. We had total freedom, and we didn't care at all about time going faster, if we could get ahead, or if we could miss the past. We didn't care at all. No, we didn't care at all. And you don't get the sense that they were apathetic people. It's that they weren't afraid. And so they had freedom in the sense that there's this lack of fear into doing things. And I just read the 50th Law, and that book is basically all about how like fear holds you back. And it's interesting to see how this track kind of captures that same message, but in such a fluffier, nice, kind, build you up style. And in general, this track is really great, and I think it really flows in with the last two. So you have the devil who like breaks you, then you have the breaking of the curse, and when you finally break that curse, that fear that you get in touch with everything, you finally embrace that total freedom, which is a really cool way to almost end this segment of the at least lyrical part of this album. As you'll see, I give this another 4.5 on 5, and I can tell you that it was really enjoyable, especially beyond Oblivion.
So, I mean, look, instrumentals are tricky to do. Generally they work really well because they are attempted by bands and groups of musicians who have the confidence to pull them off. And this one is it's serene. It's really like, it's what I picture Beyond Oblivion sounding like it is the perfect representation of that. Again, and it's the kind of thing where like people, so drum wise, I'm just getting into drum wise now, like people will hate on Ringo Starr for using simple drum fills and a really reduced drum kit, but he plays hooks on the drums, and it's the same kind of thing that this drummer does on this record. Like, the drums are really, really hooky, and it's the same kind of thing on this track. It's really majestic. It's just, it transcends what a lot of really simple instrumentals do, and again, it shows off the compositional prowess that's on display on very few parts of this record, but really key parts of this record. And this was a great place to put it. There's only a couple tracks left, and there's only really one song left. So just to have this kind of palate cleanser, this instrumental palate cleanser come in here, it was a great choice. So I gave this one a 5 on 5.
I think it's a little more than a palate cleanser, right? Because I think it fits thematically, which is a weird thing to say considering it lacks
Again, I gave it a 5. Like, I thought it was perfect.
Oh, I know, but like, I think it serves its role as a point of expression. So as we have discovered on this album, music is essentially life in the way that Shrek is life and Shrek is love. So is music.
Okay.
And basically... he's gone through this whole thing explaining his process, ending at this like total freedom point. So what is total freedom to a person who believes music is everything? It would be this explosion of sound, right? So Beyond Oblivion, if you think about the title, it's past the darkest parts that were just described, right? It's a little bit past that. And what's left is the purity of this music, this triumphant experience. Like, there is triumph in this music. There is overcoming. There is conquer. It's storytelling happening in this arrangement. And I think it's the perfect way to almost end the story. And I think this is pretty much the end of this chapter of the story, at least. It's the part with the struggle, and it ends with just there were no words necessary to express the emotion, because it really was just pure, amazingly composed music to get lost in and find yourself beyond oblivion. And I think that in and of itself is the point of this track, making it a little bit more than just a palate cleanser. It is a truly
Sticking on that one thing that I said.
Yeah, I did, because it was what was said. I give it a 5. I think it is possibly one of my favorite songs on this album, even though it lacked words and stuff. So that's really cool. I guess there's one more little skit thing to go through: confusion and clarity.
They give us strength. They give us pure physical and emotional energy.
More wise words of wisdom from Andrew. I like the way it ends. Or I don't know if it's, sorry. In the midst of all the doubt, all the uncertainty, all the confusion, we must never lose sight of the parts of life that are absolutely clear about, the parts of life that bring us undeniable and reliable joy. Those are sacred. They give us strength, and they give us pure physical and emotional energy, and that purely good feeling that tells us that life really is worth living, even when it's hard. And that really stuck with me, because it's really truth. Find what keeps you motivated more than anything else, and cling on to that regardless to what other folks say. Kind of consistent, but with more of a finality. So, like, you know, this is like the end of the story, as opposed to the other one where it was kind of darker, or the first one, which was more justifying who he is, you know? I dug it. Another 4.5 on 5. It's pretty consistent.
I just want someone to clone his consciousness and just put it in a robot and just have it. Like kind of what we were talking about before. It's like little Andrew W.K. in your pocket.
It's like in Black Mirror when they take that guy's consciousness and put it inside of a cell, and it's like a hologram version of the dude and whatever. Anyway. So,
I've only seen 2 episodes of Black Mirror. Don't hate me, internet. But I love this for the same reasons that I loved all of the other interludes. It's not boring. It's well said. It's well composed verbally. It's not, you know, it's prose. It's not poetry, but it's so succinct and so profound in such a simple way that I can't. The words are gonna resonate with me, even if they're not. It's nothing that I haven't heard before, but it's so well put. It's a 5 on 5, and you're not alone.
Yep, that's.
This one for me is an epilogue, right? Everything else has been said and done, and he just needs to close off, put out his final words. You're not alone. And music-wise, just such triumph, much inspiration, many wow. And it's like it's not long. It doesn't have to be long. He's already done the long tracks, and it's not as grandiose as some of the others, but it doesn't have to be, because he's already done it. It's just a wrap up. It's a wrap up, and at the same time, it's still just as musically inspiring and energetic as anything on the rest of the album, and it can still work as a standalone track. It can work as a single. It's great as the title track because it really does sum up what the record is about. You're not alone. So I gave this one a 5 on 5.
That's fair. I liked it a little bit less. I know what he was trying to do, and I don't disagree with anything you said, but it just didn't stick as well with me. I would have been okay with ending the album with Beyond Oblivion. I'm just putting it out there. I mean, lyrically, it's okay. Your journey's not over. It's just begun. Make your dreams your destiny and do what must be done. Kind of saying, here, you've been given this self-help book, but remember, this is just the beginning of the self-help journey, which is how they all end.
Exactly.
And you got to do it on your own.
And you know what? I will make my dreams my destiny. Thank you, Andrew.
The chorus is like, if you're frightened, if you're worried, you're not alone. Hand in hand, we're taking a step into the great unknown. Okay, I mean, you're right. It succinctly is like the final word on this self-help book. It is the epilogue point. It is exactly what a nonfiction book ends on. I'm okay with that.
And it's like, again, I get the sense that he's there. He's with me, and he's not giving up on me.
Still, I gave this a 4. I liked
right.
it sonically a little less. It just didn't do as much for me as some of them were. I liked his grandiose, confident stuff a little more. This just felt a little lackluster, a little underwhelming considering the album. That's okay. Still a good song in and of itself. And I mean, this album as a whole, though, is pretty fucking unexpected. I gave it a 4.45. Like, I thought it was really something I'm going to listen to again. I don't know that I've ever thought I would like Andrew W.K. because of whatever, but now I kind of want to go back and listen to his older stuff. Like, even before we recorded, we listened to a couple of tracks off that first album just to like see what he sounded like, and it sounds pretty consistent. And now I know that I have another dude who has a bunch of albums I have to go back in time and listen to. So y'all could let me know in the comments what your favorite Andrew W.K. album is. It'll help me decide where to go next on this guy. But I'm really excited. I'm happy that this album came out. As far as like great noteworthy songs and stuff, I totally dig the first 4 of them. I don't know, pretty much half the album I think is super freaking noteworthy. There's too many to really just list because I ended up plussing on Spotify like half the project, no problem. I didn't plus any of the word skits. So that's actually a significant number of songs on this that I feel like it's going straight into a playlist called I'm Feeling Petty. And then when I'm feeling petty, I'm going to listen to Andrew W.K. and I won't feel as petty after because I'll remember that, you know, I can win and I can do stuff and I'm not alone anymore, you know?
That's cute. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and drop a 4.8 on this thing. Like this to me is an almost perfect album. It's from start to finish. It's inspirational. It's simple. It's effective. It's a little bit on the long side, but if you do give it a listen, and you don't even have to listen to the whole thing. Like most of these songs work on their own as well as they work together, which is the sign of a great album, right? Like they work in sequence and they work out of sequence. Even the inspirational speeches, you could just pop them on, listen to them, get a little brighten your day up.
Morning routine.
It might be. I would just like memorize them and speak them to myself until I can, you know, get enough bank to hire Andrew W.K. to just stand next to my bed in the morning and be like, "Get up, you lazy piece of shit," which is what he'd say.
Or find a robot.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I added almost everything on this record, even that middle slump that I'm looking at holding the screen and I see he didn't add. I loved all those songs. I added most of them. The only thing I didn't add to my playlist was the inspirational speeches because like if I'm on the bus, it's not really something I want coming on while I'm on shuffle. But otherwise, this if you're someone who thinks that this is just party music just for the sake of party music, give this record a listen. Give it a check. You might be pleasantly surprised. It's nothing that like the music is. It's not pretentious, but it's really it's just happiness. It's just
And
happiness
if
in a
you
record.
do happen to be faded partying, this is still going to tickle your fancy.
Still gonna tickle your fancy.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We totally appreciate you being here with us. We want to hear what you have to say in the comments because our opinions are only our opinions, but you guys comment, share your thoughts. We become better at this. That's how it all works. So thank you. And yeah, if you do comment, you enter the contest and all that stuff. And we'll be back next weekend with a whole other review. And who knows what happens between now and then. See you then.